Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and welcome to the latest webinar from Arthritis Action. This is Home Strength Exercises for Arthritis. My name's Owen Buckley, and I'm the Communications Officer here at Arthritis Action. Today, we're joined by Martin, who's our Services Development Manager and Dietitian. He's going to be explaining why strengthening our muscles is important when we live with arthritis, and then go through a few simple exercises that you can do in your own home. Thanks for joining us, Martin. How are you today?
I'm good, thank you, Owen. How are you?
Yeah, good, thank you. And thanks to everyone as well who's attending today. And thank you to those of you who've submitted your questions as well about arthritis and exercise beforehand. We're going to be responding to those a little later on in the webinar. If you're watching live and you have a question that you'd like Martin to answer about exercise during this webinar, you should be able to click on the Q&A button, which is on the bottom of your screen. And then you can type in a question, and then time permitting, we'll aim to answer that before the end of the webinar. If we don't have time to answer all the questions that come in, then we'll be sure to email you with an answer after the webinar. Just a reminder as well that unfortunately we can't answer any personal questions regarding specific medical circumstances, but we can answer more general questions about exercise and arthritis. Also a reminder that your cameras are off for this webinar. You don't have to worry, so please do feel free to stand up or stretch at any point or get involved with the exercises that Martin are doing. So without further ado, I'll pass over to Martin now for the webinar.
Thank you, Owen. Hi, everyone. Now, before we start, because there will be a practical element for this webinar. So if you could, take maybe sort of like 2 minutes to grab, 2 cans of beans or 2 heavy books, it will be appreciated. And for those of you that don't feel that you want to, involve with the practical side of things, you can just sit tight. So I'm going to give you guys maybe 1 minute to grab cans of beans, or if you have dumbbells, grab it with you, and I will start my the presentation in about 50 seconds time.
That's great. I've got my can of beans ready. I've got Game of Thrones was the biggest book that I could find. So.
Owen, I think you need a bigger book than that.
I might be able to grab a few, maybe, and I'll use a few of them.
Go for it. So a few more seconds, and then I'm going to start my presentation. Okay, welcome. For those of you that take time on a Tuesday morning to join the Arthritis Action webinar on home strengthening exercises for arthritis. Now, as you know, we do promote quite heavily, on exercises, and certainly there are good reasons, for us to do that. So this quick presentation, will kind of like, pave the way into why it is important that, we need to strengthening our muscles if we are living with arthritis. So this morning's agenda, I will briefly explain the differences between physical activity and exercise. And then I will talk about why exercise is important as a treatment for arthritis. The 4 A's will form part of your take-home message. And then we will go into our practical session. And for those of you that would like to join with the exercise demo, by all means do so. Just make sure that you're okay, or you have got the clearance from your GP that you can do activity or movement. And for those who doesn't want to participate, you can sit back and watch some of the demonstration of the key exercises that are beneficial for people with arthritis. And then I will close this webinar by opening the floor for Q&A. And also I've got the lovely Owen there to help me to do so. Okay, so allow me to set the scene. Now, ultimately, what we are looking for is to minimize the impact of arthritis that can do to our lives. So I have got a progression here. So first of all, in order for us to take the first step, we need to improve our function. That could be physical and also mental. And then once we have got that firmly in place, it is likely going to help to halt the progression of osteoarthritis. And then for those of you who may have or who are living with inflammatory arthritis, it can help to support the remission into the disease. And then finally, once we have got this managed, you can certainly be able to enjoy life with minimal symptoms, or your symptoms is much better control. So today, what we're really going to be focusing on will be the first step of this continuum, which is improving the physical function. Now, there are also other elements that can fit into this criteria. So, for example, seeing your osteopath, physiotherapy, and also pain medication, they all fall into this first progression of helping you to achieving the control of the disease. And when we look at, or when we certainly talk about physical activities, I do see that exercise and physical activity tend to be used interchangeably. In fact, this is not correct. Now, physical activity it means that any movements produced by the skeletal muscles that uses energy. So, for example, walking, dancing, swimming, or hiking, they all form a part of physical activity. And exercise really is a subcategory of physical activity. And when we talk about exercises, we're really going to look at a set regime aimed to improve your physical abilities. For example, physical strength and power, and also sometimes it may be beneficial for some of you to improve your muscle or muscular density. Weight training, for example, is a good exercise to improve muscle strength. Now, we come to a point why exercise is important when you have arthritis. Now, this is coming from one of our flow diagrams. A lot of the times when we have got painful joints, and we become less active. And then this is no surprise, because you feel that your joints are aching, and then you're less likely going to do something that may aggravate this the actual symptoms. And it is a common belief, and I'm just underlining it a few times, that you feel that because you have got pain in that area, and by moving it, it might make the issue, or it might make the arthritis worse. But in fact, this is not the case. Now, when you're becoming a little bit less active, your muscles will be used less. And then that will also weaken the actual scaffolding, because the scaffolding will be your muscles, ligaments, and the tendons, surrounding that joint. And then worst of all, because you become less active, you may even lose muscle mass as well. And there is a clinical condition called sarcopenia, is where our skeletal muscles basically being disappeared. because
Hi, Martin.
Hi.
Sorry to interrupt there.
Yeah.
We're still only seeing the first slide, I'm afraid.
Oh, I am looking at the fourth one here.
You might have to jump out of full screen. Sorry about that.
Okay, good to let me know.
Thank you, everyone, for flagging that as well, that it's not moving on.
Let me try that again. How's that now?
That's much better. Thank you for
Okay, I
checking
do
that.
apologize. I do apologize. So does that mean that people not seeing my previous slides then?
No, I don't believe they have. Sorry about that, Martin.
Not a problem.
We could hear you perfectly and everything you were saying, which was brilliant.
How about now?
Much better.
Okay. Now I don't know where I have left off. So I do apologize regarding this. So really, I'll just give a quick sort of overview. So what we are looking to do with the strengthening side of things is to help to improve physical functions, which is part of the menu to help to help with the overarching area where people will get the good input from the exercises as part of the treatment, so that it can help them to halt or delay their osteoarthritis, and also be part of the management that can help for those who are living with inflammatory arthritis to get themselves into remission. Okay, the physical exercises versus physical activity versus exercise, like I said, interchangeable, but it is actually not correct. Exercise is a subcategory of physical activity, and exercise usually that you are following a set regime. And for example, strength training or weight training is a form of exercise to help to improve muscle strength. So now you can see, one of our vastly used diagram to explain why it is so important to keep your joints moving. So painful joints, it will usually you will find that you will move less because you are fearful that you may cause more damage. But in reality, this is not the case. And because you move less, you are likely going to make the muscles less active. And if your muscles are moving less, it is likely going to cause more problem, namely with the medical condition called sarcopenia, where you are actually losing muscle fibers. And then because you've got a weaker muscles, your joints will then becoming unstable. Like I said, the muscles, the ligaments, and the tendons, they are like the scaffolding protecting the joints. And if your joints feel unstable, then you will get more pain. Then the whole cycle will just go round and round and round. Now, there are barriers, to physical activity, and this is something that is well known. In particular, I do work quite closely with a physiotherapist, and then one of the biggest complaint is when they prescribe exercises to patients with arthritis, they're not doing them. And now this is an American data, and they're stating that just under half of the people are inactive if they have arthritis. And I feel that this number is probably the same in the United Kingdom. And there are 4 areas that form this barrier. Number one is the physical side of things. When, like I said earlier, when you move the joint, it's painful, then you are less likely to move them, fearing that you are causing more damage. And then secondly, you've got the psychological side of things, because you are in a lot of pain when you move it, and then you sort of like haven't got much support in terms of saying that, yes, it's absolutely okay to do so. And then that sort of like leads into, point number 3, a good support system, because if you know that, there are other people, within your peer group that are doing exercises, you are more than likely going to even try or, engage in an exercise class. And then finally, we understand that we are living in a cost of living crisis here. So, joining a gymnasium, can be quite hefty, because, nobody can spare sort of like 20 or even 30 pounds per month to join a gym. And then that will also limit your access into gaining the strength side of things. And apart from that, I mean, you may not live near to a leisure center, or if you are actually quite close by to a leisure center, you might feel intimidated to go into the center, or even feeling that some of the fitness instructors may not be able to cater for your needs. This is the physical activity guideline in the United Kingdom. Now, how many of you are actually meeting this? The 4 A's. I think this is important, that if you have seen a physiotherapist, he or she prescribe you some exercises, you might sort of like just look at that piece of paper and just think, really, can I do it, or should I be able to do it? So this 4 A's will help you to form the habit of, first of all, understanding the importance of the exercises, and also be able to help you to factor into your lifestyle. Because overall, we know that for people that are using exercise as a treatment for arthritis, in particular osteoarthritis, if you cease doing the exercises, you will go back to square one again. I mean, this is something that I've seen in clinics, and certainly it's well documented in in literature as well. So if you engage or started off doing the exercises, my advice to you really is to continue to do that. Just because you may find the benefits of it, and then you might feel that, okay, I'm getting better now, I stopped doing the exercises. And sooner or later, you will feel that the symptoms returns. So the 4 A's, first of all, aware of why you are doing the exercises, because understanding it will help to consolidate the habit. The second one, adequate instructions. Now, this is, I'm not sort of like, saying anything bad about physios, but sometimes, I do get members saying that, oh, the physio only give me a sheet of paper. And, even though that paper, explain and got little photos of how the person should move, and then, you look at it and say, this is quite daunting. And then again, it will lead to number 3, when you just look at that, are you confident in executing that movement? And then the final point is, to me, is probably quite important, because, when you first move for example, your knees, if you have knee OA, you might find that it's extremely painful. And then you may sort of like start asking questions and saying that, is that causing me more issues? And I think, we need to understand, and again, this is backed up by evidence, that when you have knee osteoarthritis or OA, moving it when you feel the pain is absolutely okay to do so. Now, pain, for those of you that have spoken to me before, I often say that pain is an alarm bell. In fact, not just any alarm bell, it's an overprotective alarm bell, because you have got an issue in your knees, your body really just telling you what exactly is going on and asking you to be mindful. of moving your knees. This is all it is what it is telling you. It is not going to say that, oh, by moving your knees, you're going to, damage it even more. So this is not the case, because ultimately osteoarthritis is a wear and repair condition. Because when people say wear and tear, tell them that this is so, old-fashioned, because we understand that it can have the ability to repair itself. And so, in terms of looking at, the level of discomfort, it is down to you into how acceptable that pain is going to be. And I'm going to give you some tools to help you to determine that. Some of you may have seen this. This is our pain assessment tools. So it is self-explanatory. So 0 meaning no pain at all, and 10 meaning you are in excruciating pain. And that on its own will help you as part of the evaluation of what sort of exercise intensity that you should do. In combination, we have got something called the rate of perceived exertion. That will, look at, how hard that exercise is going to be. So, for example, number 1, meaning that is quite light activities, that you can do it every day. But if we hit number 10, which is absolutely, so hard that you're panting for air, you just don't want to do anymore, and that will be, an extreme. Now, something that will, this is quite practical to help you to determine on the day, in terms of, what sort of intensity that you should meet, is the rule of 10. If on the day that your pain score is round about 3, that means that, yes, your pain, you can feel it is there, but it's not bad at all. Then you can do the exercise. You can the exercise that you can do can be a little bit more intensive, or you can add a little bit more volume to it, which means that you can add another set. Now, usually, for example, people will prescribe you with a regime of 3 sets of 10 repetitions, and then what you can do is, if you can do that 3 sets of 10 repetitions and still feel that the pain is around about 3, then that should be your your exercise. However, with arthritis, sometimes you wake up despite all the efforts that you're trying to make it better, you still feel your pain level is around about 7. In that case, following the 3 sets of 10 sort of regime, if your joints are painful, you can just only do 1 set of 10. Okay, so you don't need to do the 3 sets, because it will certainly going to aggravate your symptoms even more. So use that as a guide. Okay, so it's a bit like a sliding scale. So you can gauge how much pain that you are. If your pain is less, do a little bit more sets, like the volume, or you can increase the repetitions. It's entirely up to yourself. And if your pain is a little bit uncomfortable, then rather than not do the exercise, you can still be able to do something to help. And I think one thing that I would need to say is, initially, when we are trying to use exercise as a therapy, remember that it is slightly different to using exercise to improve your physical health. What it means that is the exercises to manage pain, okay, you will need to use this sliding scale to help. And once your nervous system is getting used to what you are trying to do, then you can, increase, or you can use the exercises to improve your physical qualities. Don't worry too much about, it may be a little bit confusing at first, because overall, if we are using exercises to help in terms of pain management, we need to follow the rule of 10 initially, and then we can then move on, because all exercises It's going to have a progression and a regression. So that will be something that your physiotherapy or even myself will help you to guide you and support you. Okay, now we are coming to our practical session. So what I'm going to do is I am going to come off from sharing my screen. Okay. So just going to move the camera up a little bit. So before doing any sort of exercises, it will be really important to have a warm-up. Now, a warm-up literally means warming your muscles up, but it's also have a key qualities of preparing you to do the exercises afterwards. So one of my favorite warm-up when you are sitting on a chair, okay, before I start, this practical session is going to be mainly chair-based, okay? And then for some of you that may be able to stand up, I will also give you some examples as well. Now, make sure your surrounding area is free of debris, pets, or even clothing, okay? The key warm-up that I usually do will be sitting down, and it will be marching on the spot, okay? So we usually do that for about a minute to a minute and a half. And then if you are capable to stand up, I will just do this, okay? And then if you want to make it a little bit more dynamic, you can basically pace up and down your living room. But one thing that I would try to get you to do is to bring your knee higher up, okay? So on the side, it will look like this. But if you can't, and for example, if your knees and your hips, if they don't allow you to do that, so do the best that you can. So after a quick warm-up by doing marching on the spot, we will prep our muscles. The first one will be just extending your leg with the toes pointing forward. You may not be able to see me doing that. Okay, toes pointing forward and then back again. We do that for about 6 times on each leg. Okay, make sure your toes are pointing forward. Okay. The second exercise we'll be doing, we'll be bringing our knee closer to our chest as possible, okay? Again, it will be 6 times each side. Once you have finished that, okay, we will be standing behind the chair, okay? If you can't leave your chair, what you can do is just lifting your ankles up like this, and then back down. And then if you can stand up, you can just holding on to the side, and then you can get yourself tall. And the next, so we are working, from our ankle all the way up to the top. So the next one will be moving your trunk. Hands out like this. Just imagine that you are part of the hands of a clock. So start off with moving to the right side. Okay. And do it 6 times. try to rotate as far as you can. Okay. And then after the trunk, we'll be doing our shoulders. So our shoulders, so what we do is to put our hands on top of our shoulders. So with your elbows pointing outwards. First of all, making small circles, and then making the circles a little bit bigger. Okay. And then minimizing the size of your circle until it comes to a really tiny little circles that you can make using your elbows. And then if you can't lift your shoulders up that high, I will just lift it as high as you can. You can still be able to do that. Okay. So we then move on to our hands and fingers. So what we'll do is, start off with, making our fingers flash like this. And then we're going to have two hands out like this. Bring it to our first digit. Well, bring your fingertips to your knuckles and then curl it round. Rotate your thumbs and making a tight fist and opening up really quick. We'll do it once more. Bring fingertips to the knuckles, curl around, thumbs moving, tight fist, squeeze out. And finally, we're going to work on our neck. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to help and support. Now, it is important that if you have got neck or cervical osteoarthritis, you may not be able to freely move your neck. So first of all, I'm going to say that if you have got neck issues, use the finger to place it on your cheek and then just guide your head so that you'll be looking at the right side. Okay, if you want to look to the left hand on the cheek, guide it as far as you can. Okay, with the head fingers on top of your head, guide it to look down. And then when you bring the head up, this hand should give your head a little bit of resistance so that you're really going to push it back, but not too much. We will do that 5 to 6 times. So this will form part of our warm-up. Now, we're going to get into the nitty-gritty of things. Now, a key strengthening exercise for our thighs will be sit to stand. Some people might find it difficult. Some people might find that it is absolutely easy to do. So what I mean by sit to stand is if you cross your arm in front of your chest, okay, without pushing down onto your armrest, you stand up straight away. Okay, this is sit to stand. In exercise terminology, this is called squat. Now, how we can make it, or how we can give a little bit more resistance to it, is by hugging 2 heavy books. You've got heavy books, hug it and stand up. Okay. This is a key exercise for building up the strength on your thighs. Now, one thing that I do see time and time again in clinic, and it is also acceptable to do, is if you have got knee pain, standing with your torso up can be really taxing on your knees. You can lean a little bit forward and stand up. It will ease that pressure on your knees. And the second thing that you can do to regress this exercise is by grabbing cushions and place it on your chair immediately you might find that your position will be a lot higher. So look at the angle of my legs in comparison to this. I am at 90 degrees here, 110. So I will find doing this exercise a lot more easier. And when you are getting good at doing this, you can remove one cushion at a time until you can do 90 degrees. And then if the 90 degrees is of no challenge at all, you can try doing all the way down and back up. That will be your sit to stand. The second exercise that you can also do as a complement to sit to stand will be lunges. So there are two ways that you can do. I'm just going to say that for the more able body, place the chair a little bit further up than you, okay? Hands on the back panel of the chair. What you are doing is literally step out and down whilst having that chair as a support. Flick up and down, okay? On the other side, flick up and down. You don't have to sink all the way down, because with this particular exercise, it will place a lot more pressure on your knees. And if we refer back to the 4 A's, and this is the number 1A, when we walk downstairs, this is exactly what we will be doing. This is the mechanics. So this exercise will help with walking downstairs or walking down the hill. Now, if you find that, okay, I am not too confident in doing this, without any support, what you can do is you can place the chair underneath you like this. So if you are working on the left side, you'll be placing the chair right behind you like this. And what you do is the back leg, okay, not completely straight, but slight bend. All you have to do is sink your body down a little bit and back up. Sink it down a little bit and back up. Just in case your knees decided to give way, you will still be able to sit down. Very important safety feature here. Same if you are going to work on your right leg. Extend it across the chair. Make sure when you look down, you will see the edge of the chair. Okay. Sink your body down and up. Sink it down and up. And then when you're starting to get good at this, then you can try putting the chair in front of you, and you can do this. Okay, that will be lunges. You can increase the resistance when you're doing that lunging exercise as well. This is where your cans come into a little bit handy. So span it across, hands on your arm, well, cans holding the cans, straight arm, down and up, down and up. On the other side, down and up, down and up. Okay. So the next one we'll be working on is our hips. So there are two ways of doing this. You can stand behind the chair, and all you have to do is to do hip circles. Now, this particular exercise, if you want to provide external loading, there are two ways that you can do. You can either look at using ankle weights, or you can try the resistant bands across your ankle. And if you are doing that, you won't be able to do little circles, but what you can literally do is to do hip raises like this. The correct execution of this exercise, and I do see it quite a lot of times, people trying to get their legs as high as possible, but they'll be doing like this. You know, the torso is going to be all sway, bend forward. The key is to keep your body as straight as possible. Hands holding the back of the chair. Okay, raise it up as high as you can, and then down. Only as high as you can and down. And the next one, if you would still like to use the resistant band, you know, across your ankle or ankle weight, is you can just swing your legs in front. Okay. Really good exercise for your hips. Okay, now we're going to move up onto the upper body. This is called the seated bench press. So I will need you to sit right into your chair with your back firmly against the back panel of your chair. So what you do is you are holding your two cans. They started off with the cans as close to your body as possible. And I do need your elbows to be as close to your body. Okay. Now you are in this position, feet firmly onto the ground. All you have to do is to punch forward and then back. Punch forward and back. Okay. There's also another chest exercise that you can do. Is quite similar to the bench press, the seated bench press. But what you do is this time round, you are extending the arm a little bit more forward, but make sure your arm is bent like this. And all you have to do, okay, is to bring the cans away from one another as far as you can, and then bring it back again. And when you bring the cans back, I would like you to squeeze your chest as hard as possible, and then out again. Almost as though that the two cans have got this massive magnet in the middle. So as soon as they come close to each other, they will repel one another. Okay, that's your chest. For your shoulders, it's quite simply a shoulder press using the cans. So start off with the bottom of the can facing out into your living room. All you have to do, two ways to do this. You can either just press it up and down like this, or you can turn your wrist round as you press upwards. Okay, so this is the first one. This is the second option. Start off with the cans facing, well, facing my TV at the moment. And as I push up, I rotate my wrist. Okay, so now you have done almost, a full body worth of exercise. With the neck, what you can do is you can try to touch your right ear onto your right shoulders like this, and then back again. With added resistance, you can put your hands on your temple or your side of your head, and then you will then need to try to push your head back into a neutral position. Same again on the left-hand side. And then that will be your whole body covered, apart from, your back. It is a little bit difficult, to do the back when you are, sitting down, but I have got a nice little neat way for you to do. So again, sitting on the chair, make sure that you're holding your cans of beans or soup. What you need to do is you just need to lean a little bit forward, like a 45 degrees, like this. And all you need to do is to bring your elbow to the back. And as you bring the elbow to the back, you can squeeze your shoulder blades together. And then you will feel that it activates your back muscles somewhat. Now, if you have back pain, and then you do find a hinging position quite difficult, then what you could still be able to do this exercise, but what you can do is just lean just a little bit forward and then replicate the same process. Get your elbows back rather than getting your elbows up, but I need you to get your elbows into your back pocket like this. Okay, not like that, like this. Once you have finished the whole body, it is good to have a little warm down or cool down. Stretching sometimes can be useful. I do find that doing a breathing exercise can be extremely helpful. So what I would normally suggest to do is to sit with the back as tall as possible. Okay, all you do is breathe in for 6 seconds, hold it for 3, and then breathe out through your mouth for 3 seconds. So hold it for 3 and breathe out. And we do that for about 4 times. And that's it. That will be part of your strength training. And then because the breathing just in the end helps to relax the body, helps to, relax the whole system. And then, and it is quite a good way, as part of the cool down. But if you would like to do the stretching, that's absolutely fine to do. So now it comes to a point where I'm opening the floor for questions.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Martin, for that. That was brilliant. I was getting involved with that. Your muscles definitely feel each one, which is lovely. Thank you to everyone who've sent questions beforehand as well and have been asking questions there in the Q&A. If you do have one, you can just click the Q&A button there at the bottom of your screen and type in your question. I'm sorry if we don't have time to answer all of the questions, as there's a few coming in, but if we don't have time to answer your question, then we'll be sure to email you with an answer after the webinar. We have here that was sent in before by Jeanette. Was wondering if you could answer this, Martin. Jeanette says she's had a flare-up of knee arthritis 5 weeks ago. She's been to the physio and the acupuncture and is waiting for an injection. And she wants to build up leg strength and stamina, but is still struggling and feeling a bit of pain. Could you advise the best way to do this for someone struggling to get active then, still feeling pain?
That would be going back to my rule of 10, where using your pain as the guide. And then what you can do is, do a little bit, even, if you can manage sort of like even 5 repetitions, it's better than doing nothing at all. So yes, I do feel that the rule of 10 will be so useful for you. And then if you do need us to send you the pain assessment tool and also the RPE, just send me an email. I will send it over. And then it's just really important to think that, yes, doing some form of movement is better than doing nothing at all, but using your pain as a guide can, make the exercise stretch so much better. And again, like I said, if we are trying to use exercise as a therapy for your pain, then the rule of 10 is just absolutely paramount.
Brilliant. We're getting a few questions as well of people saying, how can we
Yes, I
remember
can see
all
the
these
Q&A, the numbers is is going up
It's
quite
really
rapidly.
picking up, which is brilliant. It's great to see so many people
Yes,
engaging.
yes.
A few people are asking, how do we remember all of these exercises? The good news is we'll be sending a recording of this webinar in the coming days as well. So that way you can watch them back, you can pause if you need more time or if you want to write them down, and you can watch them at your own leisure. So that will be great.
And also, Owen, can I do a little shameless plug here? The next the next group of the home exercise, home strengthening class is going to start again in March, sometime in March. So if you are interested in joining the class, definitely send us an email.
Absolutely, yeah, and we'll send an email to everyone watching this webinar afterwards as well, so you'll have our details. We have another question here from Charlotte, who says she's heard that breaststroke isn't good for people with knee arthritis. Is that right, or could you advise anything?
Yeah, this is because when you are using your legs to kick out, you do require to have a nice, a good sort of range of movement, for your knees to be able to do that. So what I would usually advise is do a hybrid one, where if your shoulders are okay, you can still do this, but with your legs, you can just do the freestyle type kicking. That will be a little bit better. And again, it really depending on where you are at in terms of your knee OA. If you can strengthen your thigh muscles, I feel that you could still be able to do some sort of the kicking action with your breaststroke. It really depending on how you move. That is that is the penultimate answer.
Good answer, thank you very much. We have a few points here about breathing as well. Amber says that proper breathing is really helpful for her. Joel says, when would you advise breathing when you're doing exercises? For example, the back exercises that you were showing there, leaning forward. Right. Is there the right way to breathe, or is there a wrong way to breathe? What should people be doing there?
Yeah, there is a way to breathe. So for example, when you are doing sit to stand, okay, so what I would normally do is when you are standing up, and then when you begin to descend, you just take in all the air as you can. Well, a coaching cue that I normally use is to make your belly big. Okay, so you filled up the air in your belly, and then when you descend, keep the air in your belly, because you will then increase the intra-abdominal pressure. So what it means is you are keeping your back as tight as possible. And then so when you actually get down, you're keeping that pressure. And then only when you stand up again, you breathe out, because that will help to keep your back as tight as possible. Usually what happens is when people lose the tightness on the back, they will then start hurting themselves. But if you can help yourself by increasing that pressure within your abdominal, this exercise will be very useful for you. And again, with the back, I normally suggest that when you're leaning forward, as soon as you are lifting your arms up, you breathe in, and then when you bring your arm back, you breathe out.
Good, that's great to know, thank you. Just jumping back on as well, you mentioned your home strength exercise classes as well. Just to make clear, that is just for Arthritis Action members. So if you are interested in any more exercise classes though, do reach out to us. If you pop us an email, we should be able to help you. Or we also have an exercise directory on our website, which can show you to any exercise classes that are going on in your area or that may be right for you. So do get in touch if you have other questions around that. We have another question here from Dalbeer, who says, what's the best way to balance exercise with physiotherapy for people who are already on physiotherapy?
I would say that, do the physiotherapy exercises, because, there is no sort of like, differences between, what sort of exercise, because all exercise are really important as a management or treatment for osteoarthritis. But I would say that there will be a point where your body will start adapting to what you're doing. So as a rule of thumb, so my rule of thumb really, if you can do a particular weight, let's say that if you can hold on to a 10-kilogram weight, and then if you can do more than 12 repetitions of that exercise, I will then start increase the actual weight, I would increase the resistance of the weight. Now, ultimately, there is no difference really between the exercises given to the physio and the and the strengthening side. The strengthening side really is just targeting, using a little bit more heavier weight or heavier resistance to promote adaptation, from your muscles. So what I would do is, first of all, build up your foundation. Okay, you do your physio exercises, and then you will know that when an exercise becoming easy, and when that time comes, that means that it will be a time for you to progress onto a heavier external resistance.
That's a great answer, thank you. Linked to that actually is a question here from Jean. And she's saying that she's been doing some exercises for almost a year, but doesn't feel much relief and still has a lot of chronic pain. And what would you advise for someone who is doing exercises but isn't seeing a result yet?
Sure. There are two ways to answer this question. Number one, go back to your physio or osteopath, and then just asking, I've been doing this exercise for a while, it's not doing anything. So it may means that you may, it could be, you need to, load your system a little bit more, i.e., getting in the external resistance, or if the exercises is not, working for you. So either way, going back to the exercise prescriber will be useful.
Great, thank you. Yeah, definitely. Just noticing the time here, so we'll probably have time for one more live, and then if we haven't got to your question, apologies, but we will be sure to email you in the coming days with an answer as well. We have a question here from Amber, who says,
Hi, Amber.
Yeah, it's great to see some of these names as well. Thank you everyone for joining. She says, if you're doing exercises that involve lying on the floor, are you able to do these exercises on your bed if you struggle on lying on the floor, or will that affect the exercise in any way?
Not at all. Absolutely. Lie on your bed.
Brilliant. That's an easy answer to that one, which is great. I think that's about all we have time for. So thank you so much, Martin, for both the exercises that you've done and for answering these questions.
Oh, thank you everyone for joining us.
Yes,
absolutely. And I do apologize for a little bit of technical issues earlier.
No problem at all. It's part of the modern world now, unfortunately, isn't it? But this concludes our webinar on home strength exercise and arthritis. Thank you all for coming. If you'd like any more information on exercise or anything else in relation to your arthritis, please do visit our website, which is www.arthritisaction.org.uk. We have a number of useful resources that will help you self-manage your condition, whether that's in the lead up to a surgery or as you recover from your surgery afterwards. We have detailed information on exercises, including some simple chair-based exercises, as well as the ones that Martin has shown you today, which will help get you moving. We've also recently launched our Arthritis Action podcast, which covers a wide range of topics to help you support living with arthritis. So if you're a podcast listener, these are available on our website or wherever you listen to your podcasts. Also, as I said before, a video of this webinar will be made available shortly on our YouTube channel. And if you're watching this live, then we'll send you an email with a link to that recording once it's available. So you can go back, you can watch the exercises, you can pause where you need to. So all that's left for me to say then is to say thank you again to Martin, and thank you to all of you for joining us. We hope you stay safe and healthy, and we look forward to hearing from you all very soon. Thank you all for joining us.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.